different parenting styles.
Hi, I'm Bec from Be Free Emotional Fitness Training, and I support women and girls to become emotionally stronger.
And I'm Vern from Move Forward Mentoring, and I specialise in male mentoring, helping boys and men find their passion, speak from their heart, and build better relationships.
And together we are rekindling relationships. We work with couples through mentoring sessions as well as facilitating communication and creative workshops to build deeper connections.
Welcome to our podcast, designed to help you strengthen and bring more fun into your partnership, as well as create a more loving, healthy, and strong connection. Hey everyone.
Hey everyone.
So today we're talking about different parenting styles, and that one's pretty appropriate for us because we're a blended family. Bec has 2 boys and I've got 2 girls, and we blended them together to create the Brady Bunch. That's what people say all the time. I'm like, technically not correct because the man had 3 boys and the woman had 3 girls, but okay.
That's the way we became the Brady Bunch.
Whatever.
And they're pretty much all the same age, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They're all between about 10, 11 and 13 at the moment. And our parenting styles probably very different in some ways because we come from quite different parenting.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can potentially cause a bit of problems, can't it?
Yeah, definitely in a blended family. And I think even in, your usual family, people don't always have the same upbringing, do they?
Yeah. And I think in some ways when that happens and you've had the kid from, newborn together, you kind of work that out to your own style together.
Yeah. So it's sort of like you have your own styles, but then you have the child.
And then
now it's a
and
different
you realise
entity.
that, we're both parent quite differently, but we're going to have to work out something. And so I think that's probably a little bit more evolving
Over time,
together than
a blended family where
you're very
bringing,
definite. You've been doing this for years.
Yeah. I've been parenting my own children for 12 years before we got together. And then all of a sudden it was like, now we need to try and find that common ground. There are certain things which we agree on. Yeah. Like we're both very particular about manners. Yeah. About please and thank you and being polite. That's something which
cleaning up after yourself.
Yeah, cleaning up after yourself. We also both believe in the importance of doing things, of activities, of exercise, and eating healthy and healthy exercise, and a balance between screen time and doing other things. Yeah.
So we're fairly similar in that way. Ways that we've differed and have caused challenges. Can you think of some ways?
When we first got together, my children weren't really tech orientated at all. We didn't even have a television in the house. We used a laptop, and so they didn't play games. They did more sort of movement or craft or art or things like that. So all of a sudden there was 2 boys in the house and, they liked a game. And I struggled with that because I was like, sitting there looking at screens all the time, blah, 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 blah. So I had my own story about it because I've seen the extreme of that working as a teacher and working with teenagers who are up all night on games or who are playing for hours and hours and hours. However, you had a balance with that, didn't you?
Yeah. I always have a time that they do it. They know the time. They know when they have to get off. It's very balanced.
Yeah. And I had to just get used to that.
I'd always like to see them do a bit more physical activity. That's always a push for most teenagers, I think.
Really
parents and teenagers. I don't think that's just us in particular.
Yeah.
My boys with screens, I think that's a general. Kids are a little bit less active than they used to be.
Yeah. And how about for when you moved in and the girls, what was it you found that was different in our parenting styles?
Yeah, probably one thing that jumped out to me, and that was one thing that probably caused a few issues between our parenting styles. I'm very, very strict on consequences, and I knew my kids' currency. I only had to do that a couple of times where I was super strict with them receiving a consequence. And from then on, I pretty much pull their head in.
Yeah.
I think you've always struggled to know what the girl's currency is.
Yeah, it wasn't like sending them to their room and that would be my normal ones in their room, but they actually like being in their rooms because that's where they had their
Well, their
craft,
stuff.
that's where they had their stuff, they had their books. It wasn't really a consequence.
So the boundaries for you are more fluid, whereas I felt I am very strict on boundaries.
I think I had a little bit more guilt parenting as well because, you know, the children had come from a separated family and I was brought up in a separated family and I know how that felt. So in a sense, I probably treated them a little bit more gently and let things go sometimes because I just didn't want to be the hard-ass father who was always on their backs.
And which translated to me as there was rules, but they were very fluid. You know, you might be strict on it one day and then it's like changed.
I was trying really hard though. Like, you know, it's not easy.
But that's
I'm sure there's parents out there who are like, oh, yeah.
and I think that's where your guilt parenting stepped in.
Yeah.
So the boundaries were always a little bit loose.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that I think we found challenging together.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And how about for things like discipline? Like in regards to discipline, what the consequences? I mean, that's probably the same sort of thing.
Same
it's like
thing.
Where, you know, how we punish children. And in some families, you know, that punishment could be quite strict. It could be, in other ones, quite lenient. You know, people have different types of parenting styles. So there are authoritarian parents. They're the ones who are in charge and everything's done their way and there's nothing.
The kid is seen but not heard.
Yep. And
Their
that's-
way or the highway.
Yeah, and it's probably very, you know, 1950s way of doing things. But I know I've sort of done that as well with my children, our children, where I've been like, right, this is the way it is, and I'm dad and I'm in charge. So shut the hell up.
Because some days you'll be like that and then some days
Well,
it's fluid.
it's fluid because some days I'm a hard ass and some days I'm just an easygoing guy, just hanging out. And everyone loves Bec. Bec can do no wrong in this house. Oh, she's so smiley and chirpy all the time. She never gets angry until she does, and then everyone just runs for cover.
Because I think I'm the stricter one though in some respects.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Then there's another type of parenting style, which is a permissive one where you just let them get away with anything.
Yeah.
And I've actually seen that sort of parenting out of restaurants where the kids just doing whatever they want and they're chucking stuff or
Like
sucking back a Coke and drinking, you know.
Free range kids.
Yeah, free range kids who have no boundaries and just do whatever they like. And the parents just like, yeah, whatever, they'll work it out. And there's different elements of that. There's the people who give them a structure and then let them run around in that structure, and the ones who just probably don't care.
Well, that's kind of having boundaries as opposed to not having boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that permissive style is very much about the kids will work it out themselves. And I don't want to put any rules on them because I want to be seen as either I can't be bothered or I want to be seen as this sort of, I want to be your friend. Let's be friends. And they don't want that child to dislike them because all of a sudden there's a boundary. But then what happens is it actually makes life hard for that child because it's all too fluid.
Well, and as soon as you grow up and go out into the real world, there is rules and boundaries.
That's true.
Not that I'm judging anyone's parenting.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's a hard job.
Yeah, it is a hard job. And definitely that uninvolved parenting does create problems in the future. And then there's the middle ground one, which is the authoritative. And that's one which is about being able to set boundaries, but being very gentle and kind in that space.
Explaining the boundaries.
Explaining the boundaries, being really clear, this is what's happening, this is what's going on. So there's conversations. It's about saying, okay, I'm in charge, but let's negotiate how this looks.
Yeah, being firm and consistent.
Being firm and consistent, yeah.
Yet fair.
Yeah, yeah, which you're very good at.
Oh, thank you.
And I think that's probably because you had that growing up as well, didn't you?
No, I wouldn't really say so.
No, you wouldn't say so? What would you say? Where do you get this amazing parenting from then?
A choice.
Parenting,
it was a choice.
Parenting guru that you are.
So not.
Puts me to shame anyway.
No. We all try our best, don't we? And I think, like I said, we often mimic the style of parenting that we've been raised with until we actually sit down or we have a light bulb moment where we go, hang on, what conscious kind of parenting do I want to do? What parenting style do I consciously want to be for these kids? And that's probably where I stepped into doing that a long time ago where I was like, okay, I want to consciously be this kind of parent.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of effort. It's like sometimes you want to react a certain way, which is how your parents reacted.
Yeah.
And you have to pull yourself back and go, that's, that's not good.
Yeah. Yeah. Bringing awareness to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that
It's a choice. Everything's a choice.
Everything's a choice. And being able to have good conversations with each other about that parenting style is important. Maybe recognizing, oh, okay, you parent like this and I parent like that. And how's that going to work? Where's our non-negotiables? Where's our, okay, we have to compromise in this? Because really it's always about negotiation, because never one person is like, well, this is what works for me, so this is how it's going to be. Because at the end of the day, then what you're not doing is you're not parenting together, are you?
And don't be too hard on yourself, because I think we can be really hard on ourselves as parents.
Yeah, we definitely can.
It's such a hard job, and we can be so, so critical of ourselves if we stuff it up. And we will, and we do.
Yeah, we all make mistakes.
And that's okay. That's part of being human.
And I think it's part of our self-growth as well. It's like when we learn, oh, okay, that's not the way I want to be in the world, or that didn't work. Okay, how can I do that better? What would work better for me or for everyone else? And there's growth in that. And I think that's why parenting is like stepping into that next level of self-growth.
And I did this great program with Bendigo Health, which was emotional intelligence coaching for yourself and your child.
Yeah.
And it was so good. And in that, it actually said, if you only practice this 40% of the time, your child's emotional and mental health will improve by 80. It was like this crazy percentage. I can't remember. It's 80, 90% or something. And that means that if you just manage to do this aware parenting with emotional intelligence 40% of the time, that's not that much.
So less than half of the time.
So don't be too hard on yourself.
Yeah.
As long as you're trying most of the time, it's going to improve their mental and emotional health.
I guess with managing children, there's so many different types of children, aren't there? Like I'm the firstborn. I was actually the firstborn in Australia as well. So I was seen as this golden child who could do no wrong, who had so much emphasis put on what I was doing. And I ended up being this complete black sheep of the family and running wild. And they were all just looking at me like, oh my goodness, what's that child doing now? I think I had lots more rules and I felt like I had to grow up faster.
Yeah, the first child tends to grow up really fast and have a lot of rules, don't they?
And I think that the parents are just like, oh my
experimental
goodness.
child.
Yeah, it's the first one. Let's try not to break it. Oh my goodness.
Let's overparent it.
Let's overparent it. Oh my goodness. It's coughing. Quick. What? Google it. Or, it's like, oh my goodness, what do I do? By the probably second, third, fourth child like you
I was the fourth child, so
you can do whatever you want to.
Myself. I hasn't got a jumper on. It's the middle of winter. How to work it out.
Didn't break the older ones.
I couldn't even get inside my house half the time. So I'd walk home from school and nobody would be home because by the fourth child, they're all doing their own thing and you know, lost interest. And so I used to climb up on the roof and let myself in through the window.
Oh my God. You're pretty, and I can see that in you. You're pretty much, you're pretty adventurous and you're pretty out there. Being that fourth child where they've just gone, oh yeah, okay.
Pretty independent.
And that's a change in parenting style, isn't it? From that first child where, I'm going to nurture this child and make sure that it doesn't hurt itself, to the fourth one, it's like, oh, they'll be all right. They'll work it out.
And that's probably been the case with my parenting. I've never really over-pampered.
Yeah.
If they hurt themselves, I'm like, they're not dead, they're right. Dust yourself off.
Get up.
So that's probably come across because I'm the fourth child, and it was pretty much look after yourself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. How funny. I love that you have now taken that sort of way that you were parented and brought it into with our kids, which is pretty much, I'm going to treat you all the same. Yes, you're special, but not really. Let's get along. Let's all...
That's another thing that just came to my mind too, is especially in a blended family, is treating them all the same. And that's probably been one thing that we've been quite conscious of trying to do.
And it's been a struggle.
Yeah, it has. And I've noticed myself trying really hard to treat them all the same.
Yeah.
And love them all the same. So they all feel like they're part of the family. No one's more part of the family than another person. And I'm very conscious of trying to do that. And that can be hard in a blended family.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to play favourites with anyone, but I do find it harder to parent boys because I've never had boys. So I'm probably a lot stricter on how they are and in general. So that's taken a lot more work for me to be more aware of that and how I parent girls and boys.
Has it been good for you? Because you work with boys a lot. Has this been a good learning curve for you actually living with boys?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. It's opened my eyes up to a lot of how to be with boys and how to interact with boys. I also find it quite interesting that I've chosen you as my partner and you were a single mum with 2 boys. And my mum was a single mum with 2 boys. So it's a quite interesting repeat of history there.
Yeah, and sometimes you see the correlation, don't you? You know, one's a little bit like your brother.
Oh, yes. Yeah, the oldest one is definitely like my brother.
Yeah.
So, and maybe the younger one is more like me. And that's something that I find a bit triggering. I don't know.
Yeah.
How interesting. Bit of self-reflection during our podcast. So thanks so much for listening to this podcast about different parenting styles and how to go about actually trying to meet in the middle.
Join us next time.
Thanks so much. See ya.
Bye. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe and follow us.
And check out our website at rekindlingrelationships.com.
Bye for now.
See ya.